Today, we will go over a little bit of prehistory of what history was like for humanity before civilization started. The term big geography highlights the global nature of human history. Before farming, people moved around all the time. Humans slowly migrated to every continent on the planet besides Antarctica. Early humans were very mobile and were very successful in adapting to different climates. In fact, we're the only species that we know of that was able to adapt to new climates without evolving. We were smart enough to figure out how to put more clothing on to go to colder places. Or we were smart enough to figure out how to adapt to tropical environments, for example. No other species can do that. Every other species has had to evolve slowly in order to go to different places. It really is a game changer because no other species has just gone to other environments so quickly like we did. And it really is a testament to just the way our brains developed. And the human population slowly began to rise as humans migrated out of Africa. Yes, that's right. The human species originated in Africa. The oldest human remains we've ever found were located in modern day Ethiopia. So the human species is probably from somewhere around East Africa. So if you look at this map, humans originate in the East African region and slowly start to spread around the earth. Okay, now in the big scheme of things, like in that big timeline I showed you, this isn't that long ago. It's relatively recently that humans spread across the entire planet. Paleolithic period. Some common myths about the Paleolithic period. This is what some might call the quote Stone Age. This isn't correct either. A lot of people will call humans at the time cavemen, which is not accurate at all. Humans usually lived in small, crude structures, not caves. Paleolithic humans usually had a better diet than early farmers. Not a better diet than us now, but a better diet than the first humans who began to farm. They spent less time looking for food than modern humans work today. We probably work a little too much, honestly. Paleolithic humans also developed simple structures to live in and developed artistic expression with cave paintings and sculptures, etc. We're pretty sure that humans at the time are just as smart as humans now. Like theoretically, you could go in a time machine and take a baby from back then, raise it in our time, and it would just be a normal human. The only thing different is just the development of civilization had not happened yet, okay? So humans had already evolved into what we are today intellectually. They just hadn't gotten to the point to where we're at with civilization. Mass disease like the coronavirus epidemic we have right now did not exist until farming because not enough people lived in one place for diseases to spread. That's all relatively new. And it's one of the drawbacks of having civilization. Before airplanes, something like the coronavirus would have taken months to go from continent to continent. But with airplanes, it took, what, a few weeks? All right, Neolithic Revolution. Neolithic just means agriculture. So during the Paleolithic age, some in warm climates began to live a semi-sedentary lifestyle. Sedentary just means staying in one place instead of moving around like early humans did. At the end of the last ice age, the world's climate began to warm as human populations were slowly growing. Remember, 10,000 years ago is getting closer to the timeline we were looking at. During the Mesolithic age, that's the time in between the Paleolithic and the Neolithic. The Mesolithic age is like the transition from the Stone Age into civilization. Some people began to settle down and develop agricultural lifestyle, while others were still hunter-gatherers. Side note, there's still small pockets of humans who are hunter-gatherers to this day, who never farmed at all. Whenever you begin to farm, what happens is you create a surplus of food. it gets to where you have food all the time. And even if it's not as nutritious as a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, the consistent supply of food is very appealing. So you never have to go through a period of not having food. By 6000 BCE, agriculture had spread around the world to every continent, with some pockets of hunter-gatherers remaining. Now, this is what interests history nerds like me. Agriculture didn't start in one place and spread out. Various places around the world developed agriculture at the same time, which means that humans had already developed the intellect to figure it out, and the climate had allowed it for the first time. It started at multiple places at the same time. So it didn't like start in one place and then spread slowly. All those places, we have evidence that agriculture started independently, and people figured it out by themselves there without it spreading from place to place. Meaning it was probably more of a climate phenomenon than some kind of, some smart guy figured it out. Pastoralism emerged in parts of Africa and Eurasia. Pastoralism is just a fancy way to say you're still moving around like a hunter-gatherer, but they're able to trade with people who are farming, so then they end up developing a social hierarchy. Hunter-gatherers usually lived in like groups of 10 to 100, and there wasn't much of a social hierarchy. There wasn't like one person in charge. People usually just had to work together to survive. With civilization, you also have other hunter-gatherer people that can trade with this civilization, and then the hunter-gatherer people kind of become civilized, but they're still on horseback, moving from place to place and not farming. Pastoralism and agriculture led to a reliable food supply, which led to an increase in population. This is very, very important to understand. If you understand one thing, understand this. With people staying in one place and having a steady supply of food, the population begins to rise. There simply wasn't that many humans on Earth back then. Before civilization, there's more people living in Georgia right now than there were humans on the entire planet. Population had to slowly rise once we had a stable food supply. New classes of artisans, warriors, and elites soon developed, and this happens because of the specialization of labor. So in a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, if you live with just a handful of people and you're just moving across the earth to survive, there's no time to develop art or special skills. That comes whenever people have free time. When you have a surplus of food, a small number of people can become artisans or develop a special craft. Before civilization, you were responsible for everything that you had to do for yourself. You had to make your own clothes, you had to make your own food. Every single aspect of your life, you had to independently do yourself. In the world we live in, we depend on other people every day to do things for us. Urban societies developed around 3000 BCE. So 5,000 years ago was when the first cities started to develop, large settlements that had more than 10,000 people living in them. The term civilization describes large societies with cities and political states. Patriarchy and forced labor or slavery developed, giving elite men concentrated power. So it's hard to define civilization as just one broad definition. It's actually easier to kind of be like, here are characteristics of civilization. If you check most boxes, you might be a civilization. That's a better way to put it than just like one strict definition. But civilizations tend to have cities, social classes, organized long-distance trading, and complex institutions like political bureaucracies, armies, religious hierarchies. Those are all things that come with civilization over time. Some of those words sound real big, but just think of it as like large organizations that have different levels of people working for it.